I think it's important to look at what central bankers do rather than what they say. And it's clear that these countries are worried about currency exposure. They want to have something that is less volatile on their balance sheets. And unlike Uncle Sam, they don't have the privilege of just producing the world's reserve currency. Unlike the ECB, they don't have the privilege of producing the world's number 2 reserve currency. The Chinese yuan, I think, is in big trouble. And you can understand why they're concerned. Also, Russia, not so much, but the Chinese and other Asian countries have a lot of U.S. treasuries, a lot of U.S. dollars. So I think this is just a sign that central bankers are nervous, and they should be nervous. The total amount of debt in the global economy has more than doubled since the 2008 crisis. It was about 135 to 145 trillion at that point. And by total debt, I mean governmental, sovereign, corporate, household, individual, top to bottom, every kind of debt you can think of. It went from under 150 trillion to over 300 trillion today. So when the whole world has way more debt than it had before the last crisis, and we've had very, very low interest rates for most of the period since then, but they're going up precipitously. The question becomes, how are we going to roll over all that debt and service the interest at much higher rates? And so that's a very scary proposition for sovereign countries, for bondholders who have the old lower price debt, for big corporations, especially the marginal ones that need borrowing to operate. The rich will get richer because companies like Apple and Google and Amazon have plenty of cash on hand. They don't need to go into the equity or debt markets in the way that marginal firms do. The commercial real estate in the West has trillions of dollars of low interest rate debt coming due that needs to be rolled over in a new higher interest rate environment, coupled with the fact that we've got empty office buildings still after COVID. There's a real debt crisis on the horizon. And what's different between today and 2008, other than simply the magnitude and the rising interest rate environment, is that in 2008, even if you had to cut your losses and take your wounds, and a lot of baby boomers did. A lot of baby boomers lost maybe 60% of their asset portfolio. If they didn't hang on, if they just didn't panic and didn't sell, most of that came back by 2011 or 2012. But supposing they sold and they found themselves with only 60% of what they thought they had for retirement, nonetheless, they could just go into cash. And that was a safe play at the time. But today, you can't just go into cash. That avenue is not available to anyone. If you just go into cash, you're losing at least 5% a year, probably more like 7 to 10% a year to actual, real inflation. And so when the very wealthy hedge fund managers of the world, when the very wealthy investment banks of the world say, wow, all these conditions, we're nervous, we don't know what to do, so we're just going to hold cash or maybe some treasuries at this new higher rate, 5%. They have that luxury because of the marginal value of money. If you have $100 million and you don't know what to do, you're nervous, so you just step out of the markets and go into cash. Even if you lose 10% of that in the next year, you've got $90 million. If you've got $100,000 to your name and you say, I don't know what to do, I'm going to go all cash, and you lose 10% over the year, all of a sudden you've got $90,000. Well, yeah, that's a heck of a lot closer to the boat in terms of your family, your mortgage, paying for kids, school, whatever it might be. So that's the difference between the wealthy and most of us mortals, is the marginal value of money. When you have lots and lots of money, you can even buy negative yielding debt and know your losses, and you can navigate that environment for a while. But most of us don't have that luxury.
Hey everybody, this is Bob Murphy. Thanks for listening to this clip from the InFi podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, please consider subscribing and share this video with others. We've got new episodes dropping every Friday with more insightful discussions. Stay tuned.